I have another question as well about your relationship with your father and obviously your grandfather. Can you think of any stories that you were told sort of from your father about your family history that really stuck with you sort of over the years, particularly when you were coming back to Albania? Maybe something that motivated you or moved you, or...
My grandfather's history is completely linked with Albania's independence and sovereignty. In the 1920s, people forget that Albanians were still with the mentality, Esad Pasha mentality, that Albania should be under the sovereignty of another country. And the idea of creating a state, that Albania could be a free and fair country, was something very unique. And it was very difficult. One of the greatest achievements my grandfather achieved was changing the cultural symbolism of Albania for 500 years was under the Ottoman occupation. And bringing a European sense of culture, emancipation of women, and a whole Napoleonic code of laws, which actually brought Albania to the Western world.
Yes.
But I think his greatest achievement was ensuring, if it was through the Congress of Lucia or other key moments, he was able to secure the independence of the country. Because there was always this idea that Albania should be divided, but north goes to Yugoslavia, the south should go to Greece. And that determination, that strength, and bringing together Albania's elite, the renaissance of the Albanian society, to believe that Albania could be a state, could be a country, was probably his greatest achievement. And that's why he's seen today as the founder of the Albanian modern state. He was Albania's first president. And ironically, I think a few days ago, on the 31st of January, Albania celebrated 101 years of the creation of the Albanian Republic, with the first president, King Zog, ironically. And then in 1928, he became king of the Albanians. And in this sense, I'm very proud of the family's history, its contribution. But I'm also very aware that Albania has gone through a very prolonged transition period in the last 20, 30 years, and went through a very difficult communist era, where propaganda was used to damage the reputation of a family and history. So it's my job, it's my job to really build bridges and to build connections, to remember those who sacrificed, were victims of communism, but to build upon a good future.
Now, it's maybe a difficult question for me to ask, but if you look up, if you research King Zog, there are all the stories like you said, but then there are criticisms as well. You know, he had authoritarian tendencies, he was behaving like a dictator, he collaborated with enemies, etc. Do you think all of that comes from the propaganda generated during the communism era? Or do you think maybe there were elements of what he did or things he did that could have perhaps been done better in hindsight? Where do you sort of find yourself in the spectrum of these labels, sort of dictator and state builder at the other end?
Alice, when we talk about the period of the 1920s, we have to understand the context of time.
Very different.
It's very difficult. It's the time of Churchill.
Yes.
At the same time, it was the time of Mussolini and Hitler. So my grandfather was very, very careful in making sure that Albania was a constitutional monarchy during his period as king, and also a democratic constitutional monarchy with parliament. And that was very, very important to make sure that the freedoms of the country came across. And from everything from the abolishment of slavery to giving free rights of media. And the media was very active in the time of a monarchy.
It's pretty active today as well.
It is active today. But they were free-minded. They could make decisions. They could criticize the government. And that's something which even today is quite tough to do. So in this sense, I believe that taking in consideration my grandfather in today's context might have been authoritarian, but he was far less authoritarian in comparison with de Gaulle or Churchill.
Yes.
And there was a reason why he did not accept the establishment of political parties, but direct population representation, was because the two parties which would have been created in the 1920s, 1930s, would eventually be the Fascist Party or the Communist Party. And thank God, neither one of those parties were allowed to be created and established during the period of the 1930s, even though that was a great point of attention between the Italians with the Albanians at the time. At other points, well, Albania was very different in the style of rule from the early 1920s, which King Zog established, trying to get rid of a very armed population.
Yes.
And trying to modernize the state.
Yes.
Until the end of the 1930s, which was a very different regime. It was far more open. And that was seen with great ministers like Mirish Ivanai, who was actually a critic of King Zog. And Mehmet Konica and many other figures. One of the great supporters of my grandfather when he left Albania was Fanoli, which people don't know about. And it's the fact that Albanians were able to unite around King Zog as a figure of unification and belief.
Where do you think we'd be today if the monarchy had continued and communism had not come into play? Do you ever wonder, does your mind go through the decades where we might be today as a country?
Alice, I often dream. I'm a dreamer because I believe that if you have a clear vision of the future, you're able to achieve your goals. But I think that just the word freedom is so important. The fact that Albania would have been free for 50 years and not an occupied country would have changed the lives of so many.
Yes, saved the lives of so many.
And saved the lives.
Yes, let's not forget.
Because we can't forget the victims. So that's just the word in itself, I think, is enough to say there were better alternatives.
Yes, you see the scars of communism today. So I think maybe I see them a bit more as a foreigner, someone from the outside looking in. When you understand a bit about the past, you see how, okay, that's why you behave like that. That's why this doesn't function. That's why a section of the society behaves. That's why people don't trust each other so much. That's why they use these words. You can see these, and you even see the damage it's caused to younger generations, because that trauma, that bitterness, that resentment about what happened gets passed down generations as well. It's I'm just imagining a country where there's none of that. It's quite a...
And it's also very important how we portray ourselves in the future. Albania is going through an incredible period of tourism. Albania is starting to open itself up and becoming recognized for its beauty, for its mountains, for its beaches. But at the same time, we have to be very careful of how we portray ourselves towards the international community. We don't need to portray ourselves as a bunkerized, victimized country.
No.
And Albania has so much to offer. And when I travel across the country, I look at the Roman history, the Illyrian history. And that's something which is something to be proud of.
Yes.
And so this is why I'm starting to talk with my people and say, okay, we've heard rumors that the pavilion of the monarchy will be closed in the National Museum. So what can we do to present the history of the family, the monarchy, as an alternative to the current image which is Albania's presenting abroad?
Yes. I want to ask back to the topic of the concept of monarchy. Now, in Europe, we've seen... I remember growing up in the UK in the 90s and early 2000s. The monarchy there was not popular at the time. After Princess Diana died, it was very not popular. Now it is popular again. When the Queen died, everyone was devastated because people were quite confused why I was very upset when she was dying. And I was like, but she's part of my identity. She's a part of everything. In the morning when you're in school, you sing a song to her. Every stamp it becomes part of you. The monarchy now in the UK, we have King Charles, and then we're going to have these cool young, Prince William and Catherine. They're very popular as well. In other parts of Europe, there is a modernization, a slimming down of the monarchy, trying to fit in with society. Because I think the days of extravagance and sort of pomp and circumstance with the monarchy doesn't sit too well when we look at the context of the economy globally. So this is what I see is happening in lots of places in Europe. Monarchies have had to try to make themselves more relevant, more on the level of the people around them.